So today we're finishing our First Things Forum on a love for his church. This is all about the different types of love, the different ways we love. So in the first week, we did the foundations of love. The second week, we did the depth of love. Today, we're going to be doing the power of love. So the power of love in this lesson will be understanding the transformational power of love. We will discuss how love empowers us to overcome challenges and build a strong, supportive community. So if you can put up Romans chapter 12, 9 through 10, it reads, "Let love be without dissimulation. Abhor that which is evil, cleave to that which is good. Be kindly affectioned one to another with brotherly love, and honor, preferring one another." Our second verse of study goes to Colossians chapter 3, verse 14. "And above all these things, put on charity, which is the bond of perfection. Perfectness." So we're going to be talking about how love impacts us all together as a community. We're going to be talking about how it transforms our lives, and we have a few questions, and of course, we want your input on these questions. The first question we have is, how has love transformed your life or the lives of those around you? And we'll start with my wife first.
Hi. Um, so that's always a loaded question for me. First off, we know that the power of love is limitless. And though we can never fully love each other as Christ loves us, we can at least know to love, to forgive, and to build upon others. As new believers, you're truly on fire for God. It's a very passionate love, and you're learning to understand how Christ bought us for a price. It's a love that can't be bought. We know that. And when you're in the beginning of your walk, you are just truly feeling it's unquenchable feeling and drive and commitment to continue to learn about God. So personally, I felt renewed. I felt restored, knowing that I was redeemed. I was eager to show and share other unbelievers the love that I felt. But love matures, just as our journey and our relationship in God does. It becomes more compassionate and a more routine type of love. You stabilize, and so does your treatment towards others. Instead of you simply showing others Christ's love, they're often able to see it for themselves, just in your presence. God's light is able to shine through you unhindered, and you naturally draw people towards you. Their curiosity for why are you the way you are, allows you to show them God's love and the spiritual gifts He's provided. I also say that the power of God's unwavering love fosters a fruitful life and gifts that you can share with others and can use to help build one another.
Yeah, that's good. Christ first loved us, and while we were yet sinners, he loved us. And, we reciprocate that not only to him because he loved us, but we reciprocate it to others so that we show his love. What do you think, Paul?
No, I agree with a lot of all of that was said there, and it's one of these things where a lot of the love that we demonstrate and receive is shown through kindness. Going the extra mile with someone. Um, when you're given a project to help someone out, hey, what else? What extra can I do to make your job a little easier? Um, and so, you know, taking time out of your day to be friendly, to speak with people, even if you could be in your own world doing your own thing. Um, that for me, I think is oftentimes how I try daily to to exemplify love toward others is remembering that they they need Jesus, and I was just like them at one point, even if what they do might be frustrating to me.
That's good because we change from the love that Christ has shown us. And I think that's what you were talking about with the maturity, that as you get closer to God, you mature more and you're able to show that love and to show Him to other people. Is that what you're getting at, Paul?
Yes.
Anyone else have anything? Brother Anthony has the mic to run it. Sister Annette.
Well, I learned more from Bishop after I got here at one point when he talked about the love. He put a lot of emphasis on forgiveness. And because of it, I learned to forgive some very bad things that had happened to me and forgive the people that did them. And I tell my girls all the time, one of them was a family member, but I could stand in the same room with the person and you'd never know because that love I learned about from God, I've been able to extend. And so there is no animosity, there is no anything. And I can be, no, I'm not as friendly or close as we used to be, but it's still there. I still love them because they're a family member, but I was able to forgive, and that took a lot of weight off of me as well because I did not realize that all these years I had been running around with that anger. And learning about God's love and just how much He forgave kind of helped me pass it along in that way.
Yes, love does help transform us, to help restore us and to heal us from things and hurts that we've had before. And the love you mentioned was the agape love, brotherly love, the unconditional love, where, we know there's many types of love, but we are to love everyone, especially with the agape love, with the unconditional love, where we're going beyond ourselves to help someone else.
Yeah, love demonstrated in that kind of a way where it can go down deep into the roots of things and help you to let things go. Um, it's it's the kind of love that really is hard to explain, but it's is the essence, I think, of who Jesus is in the forgiveness space of things. Because, um, I mean, you think about the sacrifice he went through, and he knew it was coming, and all of that, and not even for a second did he, you know, want to hold on to any of that and let it, get in the way of his destiny and his mission. So when you're able to exercise the kind of love that you have, and I applaud you for that, and I've done that in my life too, uh, it's freeing, and it's just allows us to be a blessing to those around us.
Yeah, that's good. Before we get too far into this, I'm going to go to question 2 because we're starting to, some of the answers we have, responses are starting to run into question number 2. So, question number 2 is, what are ways you can use love to overcome personal challenges? So, we've heard Sister Nanette, she's used love to overcome her challenge with, you know, disputes, I'd say, and just challenges with relationships. What do you have, Arnetta?
So I like this question because it talks about not if love could or if it may, but that love does help us to overcome personal challenges. And God's love gives us the strength to resist Satan's arrows. It's a definite. It helps us to rest or trust upon God's promises. And challenges are going to be challenges. There's no way to make a challenge easier on us. There's no way to reduce it, to minimize it. It's hard. It's difficult, and it's supposed to be. But Psalm 13, verses 5 to 6 states that, "But I have trusted in thy mercy. My heart shall rejoice in thy salvation. I will sing unto the Lord because he hath dealt bountifully with me." Applying love first may help us look at even the most challenging situations with gratitude and appreciation. It's literally opposite of what the flesh desires. And some men and women can really be hard on themselves. But it takes God's love, a truly genuine love, for us to demonstrate and apply compassion as a form of self love. Taking time to recognize our stress levels and acting in a way that helps preserve our health is a way of love, is a way of demonstrating self love. When we're overworking ourselves, and I think about this in terms of personal challenges, why do they arise? And, some of this has to do with people, other things out of our control, or it could also be, how we're presenting ourselves in a situation. And so for this, I like to focus on ourselves. And when you're overworking yourself, whether it's at work or at home or a combination of both, it doesn't benefit you, it doesn't benefit those that are around us, regardless of the type of product that we're able to generate. What is a true gain when you lost your soul or your compassion or your love and kindness towards others in the process? Taking time to pause is oftentimes a very loving way to give yourself a chance to rebalance, to regain your strength, or to seek after Christ's strength, since his strength is made perfect in our weakness, and to get ourselves together. Also, managing stress also helps us to maintain a loving presence around those around us and gives us a chance to be sensitive to those needs that are subtly manifesting around us too. So it, it's another way of love, and I think that that's one of the ways that we can help overcome challenges, is understanding that it's not just about the heartfelt love, but there's other ways that we can care for ourselves that can help promote loving environments and help us get over those challenges.
Yeah, I never thought of the concept of um, self love, self care, but it's needed to overcome challenges because burnout is real. You can be burnt out of things you love, and it can take a toll on your family and others around you. So, Paul, what are some ways you use love to overcome challenges?
No, and that's correct. I mean, if we didn't go around practicing, say, personal hygiene and things like that, we would be undesirable to be around, and ultimately we would be less effectual in our efforts toward the kingdom. And in the same way, if you overwork yourself, things like that. I've got sometime scheduled to take off of work soon, and part of me wonders, hey, what's the stress level going to be like when I get back? Because there are things that aren't going to get, that I may have to attend to, but it's important to take some time. I might dive into a book, one of the biblical books, and learn more about that. As far as showing love in personal challenges, you know, my blindness requires me to get help with things that most that I'm talking to probably don't. Most of you all have your own cars and things, so you can get where you want to go. I depend on others to help me with that, and so I try to find ways of reciprocating. You know, I don't want to be someone that just receives, but also what can I give back? And in doing that, whether it's to a Christian brother or sister or to an Uber driver, to let them know, hey, this is really from Jesus. I want you to be blessed today, and I want you to know him better through me. And my prayer is in those times, if I get in the way, that God would intervene and move me out and let his light shine through.
Yeah, that's good. Um, one thing that I had was, if you go to Luke chapter 6, um, starting at 27 through about verse 35. I'm not going to read it, just paraphrase. But that's when Jesus speaks about how you should treat your enemies, how you should still love your enemies, pray for your enemies, and if you show love to your enemies, then it's much better than you showing love to someone who you actually love, who's not your enemy,
Right.
because he said even sinners show love to people that they like. So an example I had was, I was young and um, I was working in a power plant, and I had a boss who did not like me for some reason. I don't know what. He always sought after me to try to get me to do things, and he would constantly try to write me up for no reason. But I didn't let that deter who I was, and I continued to show him the same support I showed any other boss, because you have multiple bosses in a power plant.
Sure.
And even, in the heat of I worked in a coal plant, so it's very hot. It could be 150 degrees working conditions. Um, I'd still get him water, even though I got other people water. And he looked at me crazy, like, "What are you doing?" But you just show people love and kindness no matter what, because it's against our nature to be mean to someone who's actually showing you kindness. So it changed over a while. He wasn't as overbearing, or whatever I portrayed to him um, kind of subsided. But God took care of it, and he got transferred. So that was a that was a
Good.
victory for me.
Yes. And that is one of the things that we have to really focus on, especially as we mature, is loving those who don't like us and don't care for us. And you know, even to the point when we're ready, like, not as a woe is me, but Jesus, why do they see it this way? Even if it isn't fair, even if I'm not really the problem, what can I do to help them to um, to be more comfortable around me, to make it so that they don't see me as a stumbling block or an obstacle? Because I don't know about any of you, but I go back to some times where I've said things or done things, um, particularly before I became an apostolic. And in the moment, even, out of anger, I'm like, I don't need to be doing this. I'm just reacting to what I'm feeling. And so oftentimes it's with those around us who have a negative response towards us. It's like, Jesus, what can I do through your strength to show them that they don't need to be nervous around me, and think that I might be more of a hindrance to them than I really, intend to be. And that's for me. I'm not saying in your situation that's what was happening, but it's powerful when you can love someone else who clearly doesn't care for you, and because we live in a world now where it's all about what benefits me, and so when you put others before yourself, it's a unique way and a timeless way to demonstrate God's love toward the world around us.
All right, we'll move to question number 3, which is, how does love contribute to building a strong, supportive community?
Cool. So this is another area that is near and dear, to everyone's heart. Everyone in here are service workers and ministry leaders. But being in ministry and serving others oftentimes require love. Our community is a diverse body of people coming to find the Lord, being believers striving towards holiness, and empowered workers, which serve as leaders and followers. Leaders are faithful, competent, serving, and loving. Followers, on the other hand, are engaged, gifted, and called servants of God who partner with leaders to accomplish God's purpose. Every member in the community matters. Good followership is the responsibility of the follower. They must take the initiative for their own success. Rather, it's their attitudes, their beliefs, actions, and sense of direction. Thus, good leaders and followers must give and receive love to support and build community. We have to actively promote a selfless love and know to put others first, even when it may be contrary to what we want to do. Because a person who leads their life with God's love will never lack the trust of others. A lot of times when we're serving individuals, something as simple as a genuine concern for others will make up for the difference that our competencies fall short in. It allows us to recognize and be sensitive to the fact that someone is truly trying their best. Love never fails, but whether there are prophecies, they will fail. Rather there are tongues, they will cease. Rather there is knowledge, it will vanish away. Conversely, gifting is no more than noise without love. Thus, if we want to impact the community, we should advocate before God in prayer, before others, and defending our members in need at every turn. But how we advocate is through the practice of Christian maturity. Though a mature love that God provides is here to help unify and build community, we know that there's a way to do so. Love suffers long and is kind. Love does not envy, it does not parade itself, and is not puffed, does not behave rudely, does not seek its own, is not provoked, thinks no evil, does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoices in truth, bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. And we know that now abiding in faith, hope, love, of those three, but of the greatest of these is love. And that was all from 1 Corinthians chapter 13. So I think that love is literally the quintessential building block to building a strong community. We need it in everything that we do.
Yeah. So the Bible teaches us that God is love, and as you mentioned, we need love in everything we do, just as much as we need God in everything that we do. And you know, we know, hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one God. Love your God, and then love your neighbor as yourself. So as we put that love into practice, we'll see stronger community. We'll see stronger connections. Um, People will have a feeling of something higher than they are. It gives them purpose. What do you think, Paul?
Let's see. Oh, there we go. I think it went to sleep. Um, anyhow, no, loving in a community setting is one of the ways I think where you can show people around you, hey, I'm gonna, not in a heroic way exactly, but a sacrificial way. I'm gonna stick my neck out for you, and gonna come through and let you know that no matter how things go day to day, I'm gonna love you through this, and it can really bind people together, even who are different, who come from different cultures and such. Showing love to my neighbors in my workplace, it helps to let people know, as Sister Arnetta was talking about, that there can be a trust factor and dependability. Um, that people know they can count on you, and it is contrary sometimes, as we've talked about already, to what the flesh wants us to do, and it can leave us a little exhausted, But showing that kind of love, um, going the extra mile, going 2 miles to someone when they want you to go one, for example, it just allows for things to be done properly and in order, and it can really dispel the chaos that you often see that doesn't need to be in the world.
Okay. Anyone else have any thoughts on how love contributes to building a strong community? All right. We'll move on to the fourth question. Oh, we got Sister Nanette.
Fair, since nobody else is saying anything.
Thank you.
It, I mean, it helps build in this community, in our church community, but showing love in simple ways, like the store I frequent is a community, and showing love to the cashiers and stuff. And names are not my strong suit, but I have been working very hard on names so that as I get to know people, I can call them by name when I go in the store and say hello, but also showing kindness to people I don't know, letting them get in front of me in the line. If I'm not sick and somebody's older or looks in way worse shape than I am, offering to help them put groceries in the car. I may not know them that time, but over time you start seeing people and they start recognizing that you were somebody that was kind to them and showed them love. And so it kind of, you see that look of recognition and that smile that comes on their face when they see you. We may not know each other by name, and it really seems to affect, I notice it more in the elderly and people of different cultures. Not always treated well by other people, be they Middle Eastern or Hispanic or whatever, but
That's exactly right. Yes.
The fact that it doesn't matter to me and I'm still showing the same kindness to them I show to the cashier that I talk to all the time, that affects them and they recognize that it's genuine. And so just either compliments, letting them in line, helping them find something. If I can reach something they can't, or, I've had a gentleman older than me get down and get something off the lower shelf that I can't get down to because it's further back or something. And then just being nice to people, they show that kindness back because they recognize that there's no reason I need to be nice to them. I'm just being nice. I'm being genuine and I'm showing that love. And so that's a community that I can have an effect on. That you guys live on the other side of town, so you're not shopping at the same store I'm at. So you have your own community. And I find those little communities that you interact with, you can have that effect on. Restaurants you frequent or something, where the waitress or waiter recognizes you because you've been nice to them and you've, like Pastor saying, ask them how their day's going, just been kind when other tables might not be. Those are the different communities I think we can affect outside of the church.
Yeah, and I like that you mentioned, love can be a barrier breaker, and it can help be a starting point to making different connections that you probably wouldn't have made before, to open up to meeting new people and making new relationships. And that's ultimately what we want to do as a church, is to make new relationships, make more connections so that we can spread God's word to other people.
Exactly. And speaking as a service worker, I can just tell you as a point of encouragement, when I am having a really stressful day and I'm super busy, but I get a call from someone who needs something or an email, and then they're extra polite and kind about the help I give them, or even if I can't help, they're just a nice, pleasant voice to be around for a moment. It can change my whole outlook for the day, and it's like a new burst of energy, and you feel like you can tackle the world again, and you don't feel, I don't feel so overwhelmed anymore. It doesn't. It's just the whole perspective can change. So that's beautiful that you do that.
Anyone else? If not, we'll move to question 4. Can you share an example of how the power of love has impacted your church or community? We'll start with Brother Paul at this time.
This was the one that I struggled with the most because um, it's I I'm gonna go back to a time some of you might not even, well, I know the Fletchers weren't here back when we were transforming this building into what it is today. So this used to not be the sanctuary, and we used to have pews, and one of the things that Pastor did with those pews was those who wanted, you know, because they had certain nostalgic value and such, to take part of that with them. He allowed for that, and I thought that was a really nice way and to show the love of you know, let's help you transition to the new better that will bring more people in, but recognizing that you had a life changing experience in this place. Um, I don't know if I'm explaining that right, but it just really touched me that he took the time to let folks do that. And then for me, I know when I was baptized in Jesus' name at Stanton Apostolic, the outpouring of love that I felt in that setting with those people, and there was this unity in that moment, um, impacted me in a way that I still feel today. It was just something that was precious, and um, you know, I I'm forever grateful.
Yeah, that's good.
So I can share an example. It's another community example since it's from church in my hometown. Every now and then, the church or the community encounters an issue that tests whether we practice what we preach. And much of that is demonstrated in the response that we have when the issues are at hand. Wake up calls can be devastating, and the reality of a situation hurts. Many churches and the people within may feel like their church is healthier than they actually are. An example was realizing the church I grew up and I grew to love was not as externally welcoming to others as I felt as a member on the inside. Initially, or better said, we felt defensive, ready to justify every flaw found. It truly felt like an insult against my own family. I was told things like its worship service was awkward, it's ill flowing and unfriendly, that there were plenty of members, but just as many cliques that were not willing to allow others to join. And I think what was most offensive was that there were areas within the church that they said they didn't feel safe. Instead of reacting, I saw leaders of the church use and apply love to genuinely and constructively hear feedback in a way that lacked judgment and personal attack. They then used that feedback to develop long term changes that helped change the environment, focus on collaboration and working together, and preparing a path into the future. It was truly an amazing life lesson for sure. From that moment, I learned that applying unconditional love towards guests and members in the most difficult situations matter more than the easy decisions. It doesn't mean we always agree, but that we're willing to sacrifice our own preferences to help keep the unity within our church. We are tasked to love fellow church members that are easy to love or lovable just as much as we love those who seem unlovable. We're tasked to apply love and know that it looks different for everyone, but can also be shown by encouraging pastors when they do things we like just as much as we may not like. It can also be serving not only when others are joining in, but serving the church even when we're alone in doing so. This all helps us to develop an authentic, biblical, and unconditional love.
One example I had, um, the previous church we went to, um, they would, whenever you had a kid, some a group of people would come together and they would buy you or make you food, um, and I thought that was pretty cool. I thought that was very helpful because especially when we had our first child, we were struggling. we but what happened? But the church knows, and they saw a need, and they came through, and it was just a group of people in the church, and they would come by, check on you, see how you were doing, um, and we were able to reciprocate that when others needed, when other families start having kids, we will reciprocate that as well. Coming here, you can, you know, I know speaking personally, I felt the love when we came here last year. The first person I met was Anthony, and, he's always, showing love to guests, letting guests feel welcome. Many of you welcome me, and being here has been a blessing to us and to me personally. And I've, worked with all of you in ministry. So, I can feel the love presented in this church. And, the friendships here, I know will be lasting. Sister Nanette?
I think the way we best show love within the church community and to each other is with guests, like when you first came, but also with our prodigals when they come back, especially if we know their road has not been an easy one. Showing that love, not bringing up the past, just being glad and welcoming and supportive. I think that's the best way we show love. And I can speak that from the heart because my oldest daughter, I'm still waiting to come back. But when she's come, she always says people are judging her even when nobody is. So as long as people keep showing her the love every time she visits, I'm hoping that will help turn around that perspective. And I think that's one of the ways we show is when those prodigals come back or the new people come in. And if they come for a few weeks and then they don't come and then they come back, it's not bringing up, just saying we miss you, but not bringing up that struggle. And just being supportive of them and loving and letting them know that this is a safe place and this is a place where they're loved. I think that is important.
The enemy of our soul likes to convince us that the world around us is against us, and something somebody might have said to you, they meant one way when they meant it another way, and turns things around and twists them all up. And because he understands in a way that we just can't, what love can do, how it can bring people together and really overcome a lot of evil in the world. Just imagine, if you can, how much less chaos there would be in the world if for the last decade we all loved each other. It's just mind-boggling. So I'm sorry that that's happened, and I'm not surprised. So yes, prayer and being kind when folks come back and accepting them for what they are at that moment, rather than trying to go back and rehash things that are best left alone.
Amen. Anyone else have anything? Any examples? All right, we'll move to our last question. What obstacles do you face in allowing love to fully transform your interactions and relationships? I'll go to you first.
So I think when we're talking about obstacles that can get in our way, it can really be an exhaustive list. I think what is there not to get in their way will probably be easier to talk about. But I know that perspective matters, and truly resting upon God's promise and being able to practice patience is by far my hardest obstacle. It's like we know the Bible, we take time to pray, we take time to read, but in those moments where you have an obstacle right in front of you, it takes work, to really remember and apply what you know. Um, the byproduct, though, of those obstacles is distraction for me. Distractions such as feelings, emotions, reliving past hurts, anxiety, or the fear of something unknown or out of my control. I try not to allow myself to entertain distractions, but it took and it takes quite a bit of practice. Really, what I rely on is prayer, fasting, and meditating on God's word as the foundation for building our church. When we're talking about using love to transform our interactions and relationships, that's intimate, that's small. It takes those initial efforts to truly get through and to build upon a larger picture. And so I allow using those tools to help build our interactions with each other and truly being mindful to not let anything hinder that process.
What do you have, Brother Paul?
Let's see. There it is. So it's a fine line for me between being a realist and being cynical about things, and understanding that ultimately, no matter how the world looks around us, God is in control. Um, Sometimes that kind of trying to keep a proper perspective, but knowing that God is ultimately running the show, can be an obstacle for me. Um, Also, taking the time. I don't know about you, but to me, when I'm having a discussion with someone and I say something in response to a question they might have, or whatever, I'm like, well, this is how I meant it. This is how they should always take it, and that's just not the way the world works. So, really taking the time to understand what someone else's perspective is, and you know, um, there's a value to keeping it real, but there's also a way, using godly speech, you know, not causing your brother to struggle, those kinds of things that I think really help us to to let God's light shine through uh, to those around us.
Yeah, delivery is definitely a part of love. Something can be said multiple ways, but have different meanings.
Right.
So I like what Paul said about understanding yourself and knowing that he's a realist or he could be kind of cynical in situations. And I think that that's probably one of the first steps to even being able to get over the obstacles. For me, I know I'm a diehard optimist, and it could be rain. It could be raining fire, and I could probably find something positive out of it. Oh, we can have a campfire. Like something really random. Like that's how optimistic I am about things, and I think knowing yourself, knowing how you respond in situations will allow you to be aware and to be able to sort of figure out or pray about how we can put God's love back at the centerfold of things.
Exactly. Um, Jesus, how would you have me respond to this? The whole, if you were in the room, how would you, but he is in the room because he's in us. So, that's hard to remember sometimes.
Do we have anyone else?
It's
Okay.
quiet today.
If not, that'll conclude our session on love. All these are recorded, so you can go back throughout the month of August and check out